Hello, I'm Alan Moorhead, and welcome to HorseCity.com TV, your connection to the horse world. On today's show, we're going to put you in the saddle with trainer and clinician Craig Cameron of Bluffdale, Texas. Craig is going to show us how to properly ground tie your horse. During At the Barn, we'll talk about a piece of equipment that is beneficial to both you and your horse, the Hoof Jack. Then at the clinic, we'll be discussing the best way of bringing a horse back to work. And we'll wrap up our show with Wendy Murdoch in the irons. Wendy will show us the importance of proper timing aids for smooth transitions. All this and more today on HorseCity.com TV. In the Saddle, sponsored by Impact Gel Corporation.
You know, have you ever got off your horse to open a gate or go grab something out of the trailer and you came back and the horse was just gone? You know, there's nothing more frustrating than that, and then you just want to kill your darn horse. Well, I'll tell you what, they're not going to stay there just because you want them to. You're going to have to teach them. And what is it you got to teach them? You got to teach them to do a thing called ground tie. And I'll tell you what, ground tying, it to me is a sign of a really well-broke horse. I've been working with this horse a little bit this morning, a horse that I just met this morning. He's a barrel horse, which is a speed event horse, and tell you what, they have a little different mentality, but this horse can learn to stand ground tied. And what is ground tied? It's when you step off your horse and you drop your lead line or your reins or your Makati lines or your neck rope. The horse relates that to standing still. And I'll tell you what, it's a great deal for the horse because all he has to do is stay put. To do that, I got to be able to desensitize this horse. I got to get him ready and teach him not to come to me. You know, a lot of times in horse training, we spend a lot of times, especially like in the round pen, teaching these horses to come to us. I tell you what, I truly believe that a horse can figure out when you want him to come to you and when you don't want him to come to you. And it's just the way you present things. So we need to learn to be effective. You know, learning to be effective is a key ingredient in horsemanship. In other words, no matter how bad you want it, if you're not effective, shoot, you might as well be looking east for the sunset. It's not going to happen. So you got to teach these horses to stand ground tied. So I do desensitize, and I bump using my rope halter. I drop it there, and if he tries to follow me, I might stomp the ground and tell him, hey, stay put, stay put. If that horse goes to leave, I got to be quick enough to grab that lead line, see, and tell him, whoa, whoa, whoa. I want to get to where I can walk around this horse. If this horse tries to hook on or join up, I tell him, whoa, and I keep reinforcing that. So as I walk around here, and I don't want this horse to follow me. I want to get to where I can do my stirrups, pick up on that back cinch, rock this. In the meantime, whoa, whoa, whoa. Got my lead line ready to take hold. I got to be able to come all the way around here and just handle my horse all the way around here. And I'm telling this horse, stay put. Whoa. All you got to do is stand there. It's the easiest thing you can do. Tell you what, these horses get to where they like it. You know, and one thing I like to do to teach this also is to hobble train my horse. I use these good Craig Cameron training hobbles that don't burn my horse. Let these horses to relate to it. You can pick up one of my videos to learn some great techniques on hobble training. But once they learn to hobble train, a lot of times, then all you got to do is drop that lead line. Let them learn how to stand still and stay put and become a great broke horse. Ground tying. It's an old technique that all the best cowboys used to use and the good ones still do. You know, the horse is just a reflection of you. And remember, it can be good or it can be bad. And it's very impressive to be able to step off your horse, have him stand there and stay put. Sign of a well-trained horse. That you got a great relationship with your horse. It's called horsemanship. Horse, man or woman, and the relationship you build. Whether it's any good or not is not going to depend on the horse. It's going to depend on you. Remember, ground tying. Take your time. Let your horse figure out what it is that you want and what it is that you don't want.
Up next on HorseCity.com TV, at the barn, we'll talk about a piece of equipment that is beneficial to both you and your horse, the Hoof Jack. Then at the clinic, we'll be discussing the best way of bringing a horse back to work. And we'll wrap up our show with Wendy Murdoch in the irons. Wendy will show us the importance of proper timing aids for smooth transitions. We'll be right back. Welcome back to HorseCity.com TV. We're at the barn to discuss the Hoof Jack.
What we're going to be doing today is showing some of the features and the benefits of Hoof Jack and the origin of Hoof Jack and how it came about. I've been a professional farrier, full-time income, for almost 33 years now as a farrier. But 7 years ago, being flown to do some horses in the Idaho backcountry, the plane didn't make it, and it put me out of work for about 6 months. I had bruised heart, broken ribs, and not a broken back, but a lot of back and tissue injuries that prevented me from shoeing horses for about 6 months. At that time, I really had to reevaluate if I was going to be able to continue being a farrier. As a farrier, our backs are kind of our Achilles tendon, our no back, no farrier. So in the pursuit of wanting to be a farrier and continue a profession that I really enjoy, this has been the origin of Hoof Jack. There are other hoof stands out in the market, but all of them had shortcomings for me, and therefore I would try them once or twice and then just get rid of them and discard them and go back to the other way that I was doing. But that was very painful, and it's really hard to do a job when you're in pain or discomfort. Hoof Jack is a very lightweight support system. The base is made out of linear polyethylene. It's very tough, it's very durable, but at the same time, a little bit what we call rigidly flexible. Because of that, we're able to use it on uneven surfaces, and simply by placing your foot on one side and then on the other, gain stability on uneven ground. I know we all like to say that we're going to work on beautiful rubber mats like this, but the reality is many times we're not. The other thing that makes Hoof Jack a little bit different is that the hoof support systems that are out there are generally a hard cup cradle. And I found that when we're placing the hoof in the cradle, it's always on the most sensitive part of the foot, the coronary band. And I found by coming up with a nylon support system where the hoof is actually suspended in here, that it has enough flexibility that the horse does not feel threatened while in here or locked in. But at the same time, it molds around the shape of the hoof. I always say every hoof is like a snowflake. They're all different. So you can't have one system that works. But by this, the hoof is gently suspended within the cradle, and it holds the hoof in there really, really nicely. Because of that, as we'll show you a little bit later, I'm able to do 100% of my farrier needs, from pulling the shoe to trimming to rasping and to nailing. Also, it's not metal. Many times in a horse gets reactive, we have a tipping over situation. We have 3/8 of an inch here, and in my 5 years of using this product, I've never had a horse hurt or injure themselves on it, much like I did when I used a plow disc. Because of that, also a lot of other products, the base is more of a dome in its shape, and as my physical therapist said to me, anytime that your toe is higher than your heel while you're working, your pelvis is no longer level and your back is immediately out. So I kind of look at Hoof Jack as this is my workstation, this is my desk. And with just a little bit of a heel, I'm working now flat-footed, so I can maintain my pelvis alignment. It's adjustable from 13.5 inches on up to roughly about 23.5 inches. It's interchangeable. It also comes with a straight post for bringing the front or the hind foot forward with a really nice rubber cap that really grabs the hoof. We have different sizes. This is for our standard horse. We also have a draft cradle for the big boys and girls, and we have added on to that now where we'll take and put a longer post on this for the equine dentistry, or any time you need to work on the stitching of the eyes or the ears after you tranquilize the horse and their head starts to drop. Hoof Jack is also available in a miniature version, which is only 7 inches tall, and it works fabulous. So we could actually now, I sit down on a stool and trim the miniatures, and I don't have to be on my hands and knees anymore. Also, the miniature stand has the same diameter hole, so with very, very geriatric horses, we can take the standard cradle, slide it into the miniatures, and get us another 5 inches or more lower, and be able to accommodate that very range of motion problem that we have, where in the past we could barely get that hind foot off the ground to work on.
Up next on HorseCity.com TV, we're at the clinic discussing the best way of bringing a horse back to work. And we'll wrap up our show with Wendy Murdoch in the irons. Wendy will show us the importance of proper timing aids for smooth transitions. We'll be right back. Welcome back to HorseCity.com TV. We're at the clinic to discuss some of the best ways of bringing a horse back to work. We're at the clinic to talk about bringing your equine athlete back from an injury into competition. We're joined with Magan Bernig of the University of Georgia equestrian team. Magan, thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you very much.
Now, with a national championship equestrian team at the University of Georgia, there's a lot of competition and there's a lot of horses that get hurt, have a layoff, and then come back to competition. How do you go about bringing one back?
Well, I tell you, first you got to have a great vet, and we're very fortunate here. You need to know what the injury is before you can make it recoup well, okay? And you have to have an end goal in sight. If it is an injury that you're getting ready for a competition, you need to know when that competition is and see if your goals are realistic. Then it's slow and steady all the way through that rehab. And it's going to start with a simple stall rest and walking. That's almost always how they start.
So there's still going to be some exercise intertwined with the stall rest.
Probably, and again, this is going to be very much determined on the actual injury. In many of our cases, you were looking at typical abscesses, things that they're being laid off in a stall, and it might be only a couple days, but if you go rip-roaring the day you come out of that stall, you're going to be causing more injuries for that animal. So again, there is, very important progress, I think, of taking step by step. And that includes sometimes wearing a watch.
Now, how important would it be to, as you bring your horse back, to stay in touch with your veterinarian to make sure you're not doing too much or not enough? Can you push any more? How close do you want to work with your vet?
Very, very closely. I think that's very, very important, particularly with injuries like tendon injuries, when things are very, very crucial. In those circumstances, very much the discharge paper will have, see me in 30 days, see me in this, progress to this point in exercise. So I think it's very, very important to stay on top of that. I think it's very, very important as an owner to be really watching and monitoring your horse as well. You're going to know them maybe a little bit better than the vet and see when he's a little bit worried or more hesitant about putting that foot down. And so really, be good observationists.
So basically, you're just going to try to take the injury in with your veterinarian and yourself and not overwork your horse. And of course, you start with the walking. When would you want to maybe think of going from walking into some trotting exercises and further exercises?
There's all kinds of different programs out there, and I think you need to talk to your vet about it. But what we do here often is, 5-minute progressions. You might start those first 5 minutes in walk, and then 5 minutes of trot, and then maybe the next day it's going to build a little bit more trot if things are going well. And typically from week to week you're seeing 5-minute progressions, every single time. That's with something that's a pretty serious injury. If it was something a little less serious, you might be able to speed that up.
And now, when you talk about the abscess and, of course, the leg muscles and all that makes the horse move, are there any things that you would do in some stretching exercises, moving your horse's legs around, flexation or anything like that?
It certainly can't hurt at all to be doing those exercises. So, stall rest, what's great about it is you have limited movability. You can let things heal, but as soon as you get out of the stall, there's very, very small range of motion. So sometimes, even off the ground, making them really step up and walk bigger. Some people will actually help move legs and joints and do some flexion as long as you know what you're doing and have been shown what to do. I think that's a great thing to do, and maybe you'll have more payoffs as you get to riding as well.
So basically, in closing, it's just determination and dedication and patience, slow and sure. That's the way to recovery to competition. Up next on HorseCity.com TV, Wendy Murdoch is in the irons. Wendy will show us the importance of proper timing aids for smooth transitions. We'll be right back. Welcome back to HorseCity.com TV. In the Irons, brought to you by Cricket ESV.
There are a number of strategies you can use to help you feel the timing of your horse. One of them is to ride with your eyes closed. It's a good idea to have a leader and be on a safe horse when you do this, because you don't want the horse to inadvertently spook at something while you have your eyes closed. Of course, if you feel uncomfortable with your eyes closed, then maybe that's not the best solution for you. Other strategies that you can use to help you feel what your horse is doing underneath you is to put a hand underneath your seat bones. If you turn it so that the palm is facing upward and you sit on your hand a little bit, you'll feel the movement of the horse underneath your seat and in your hand. It's also good to have a ground person. They can call out the timing for you or let you know if you get it right. Of course, there's always watching other horses and riders, and you can see what they're doing and see if you can pick out the moments of the stride while you're watching them ride. And then we've used a few artificial aids here to help you hear and see the timing of the aids. We're going to have bells on one horse. We're going to use some colored wraps. And you can always watch your own shadow. That's a great way. Obviously, to see your shadow, you have to look over. But if you don't have anything else and there aren't any mirrors around, then shadows can work really well. There are 3 natural gaits to the horse. I'm not going to discuss soft-gaited horses in this DVD. The first gait we're going to look at today is the walk. The walk is a 4-beat gait. The next gait we're going to look at is the trot. The trot is a 2-beat gait. And finally, we're going to look at timing your aids within the canter. One of the things that's important to remember is that how you sit is going to affect what you feel and how your horse moves underneath you. So it's important that you sit in good balance and alignment with your horse. Okay? Not every horse is as cooperative as Andy is here, but what we've done is we've put some bells on his right front, and you can hear the difference between the flight phase and the landing phase of his stride. Listen closely on your heel. 2 different sounds. The flight and the landing is the second sound. Here you can clearly see that each leg is moving individually in the walk. We've used colored vet wrap to make it a little bit more clear so that you can see the timing of each leg. So in the walk, it's a 4-beat gait, each leg moving separately, the other 3 being on the ground at each stride. The stride length is the distance between the hind foot landing and the next time it lands on the ground. In other words, one stride is equivalent to the time it takes for all 4 feet to move in a sequence. The trot is a 2-beat gait. Diagonal pairs of legs move together. So we've made the colors of his 2 pairs of legs the same so you can see how that diagonal pairs of legs move forward together at the same time. One stride length would be the time from one diagonal pair of legs moving forward to the next time that pair of legs hit the ground. The canter is a 3-beat gait. We've put bells on the right front, which is going to be the lead leg. The same color, yellow, on the diagonal pair, and blue is on the outside hind. If we were to do this on the left lead, we'd put the diagonal color pair of wraps on the left hind, right fore, the pink wrap on the left front, and the bell on the left front, with the other color wrap on the right hind. And that would illustrate the left lead.
Stay tuned for the weekly trivia question.